At the end of today's show, one of the top uncommitted prospects will be uncommitted no more. It's in the name. The top edge rusher in the class, Elijah Rushing, joins us live to make his commitment. Where does he land? Find out soon. And the SEC landed some big-time prospects recently. Our team spends years rating the player, but we'll tell you if it's a good fit for the school. And while we were all watching the fireworks, the recruiting world was also exploding. We are bringing on an expert to make sure you're up to date on everything. The College Football Recruiting Show starts right now. Alongside Blair Angulo, I am Emily Proud. I can tell by the chat function that you guys are well aware of how to use that thing, but just a reminder to submit your questions in the chat. The only way you can do that is if you are a subscriber of the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. Also, one more request. Please hit the like button on this video so we know that you're watching. A lot of people watching right now, Blair. I think there's something happening on the show today. Elijah Rushing is joining us live soon to make his college pick. We got zero crystal balls on his profile. I've got no clue where he's going. Have any maybe last-minute intel for us?
Well, the nation's #1 edge rusher picked up his first scholarship offer, Emily, 27 months ago. The finish line is here. This has the feel of that signing period decision. I've been getting phone calls all week. Everyone wants to know where Elijah Rushing will be headed, and we will find out very, very soon.
I am so excited to see where he lands. But first, we have some business to take care of with some headlines. Let's go ahead and hit those. Another win for Kirby Smart. 2024 four-star offensive tackle Daniel Calhoun committed to the in-state school yesterday. He is the #4 player at his position and is a top 15 prospect in the talent-rich state of Georgia. So Blair, how can he be an impact player for the back-to-back champs?
He brings size and strength, Emily, a massive offensive lineman. He can move bodies. Daniel Calhoun could be the future right tackle or play either of the guard spots, but either way, he should focus on being a potential game breaker for the Bulldogs and a bulldozer up front.
Bulldog bulldozer. We got more on this big commit with Cooper Patagna a little bit later on. But we have more decisions to discuss. Four-star athlete Rashawn Clark committed to Cal yesterday. He is out of the famed Garfield High School in Seattle, the 7th ranked player in the state of Washington. What does this win mean for the Golden Bears?
It's a really significant one for Cal. Rashawn Clark is the highest rated commitment now for the Bears in the 24/7 Sports rankings. He gives them a tandem with quarterback E.J. Kamenong, who flipped from Washington. He's also from famed Garfield High School.
It's a pretty popular school there. Meanwhile, four-star corner Miles Lockhart picked Ohio State. The Chandler, Arizona prospect chose the Buckeyes over Oregon, Utah, and Washington. What did Ryan Day just add here?
One of my favorite defensive back prospects out west. Miles Lockhart has been starting at the varsity level since his freshman year. He's a competitor, and he should give the Buckeyes another option in that ever-important nickelback position as early as next season.
All right, let's keep the news rolling. It is time now for the Wiltfong Whip Around with our Director of Recruiting, Steve Wiltfong. He is working the phones as we speak. It's been a busy time for you right now. Let's start with the big story of the day. Elijah Rushing, Oregon, Arizona, Tennessee, and Notre Dame are the finalists here. What will he bring to the program he chooses?
Well, he's the prototype at the position, right? He's 6'6", 250 pounds with that first step quickness, that pops. He can bend, change direction. And you see some of the relentless play on film, the 11.5 sacks, over 50 quarterback hurries as a junior. And you think about the upside physically with his massive frame, what he can mature into. He's a special talent. Easy to see why he's so coveted by these programs here down the stretch.
Steve, speaking of upcoming commitments, four-star linebacker and former USC commit Dylan Williams. He's a top 30 linebacker in this 2024 class. He's hinting that he plans to commit maybe this Friday. Another Oregon target, four-star linebacker Kamar Mothudi, plans to announce his college decision on July 10th. Who are the programs that you are monitoring closely to land these two linebackers?
We're looking at July 11th for Kamar Mothudi as these dates move around right now. But I like where Oregon stands with both of them. Let's start with Dylan Williams. I think early in the month of June, Michigan State had the momentum coming out of an official visit to East Lansing, the opportunity to play for Mel Tucker and that coaching staff, an exciting one. And Michigan State definitely in the thick of it as his decision date approaches fastly. But I think Oregon, the official visit the weekend of June 23rd, the program on the rise, the opportunity to play for several defensive-minded coaches with a major track record has put the Ducks in great position. And same goes with Kamar Mothudi. He's also got a keen eye on Michigan State, Utah, Washington also received official visits. But I think Oregon's had the momentum for quite some time with Kamar Mothudi, and they've been able to take on all challengers. I like where they stand with each of these young men going into their upcoming college decisions.
All right, commitment season continues with four-star offensive lineman William Satterwhite. He tweeted his plans to announce his commitment on Friday. It's between Clemson and Tennessee for the number 11 prospect in Ohio. So this is an easy one. Which orange is he wearing in 2024?
Yeah, Emily, a lot of young men trying to make their decisions before their senior fall camp starts. William Satterwhite, one of them. And I like where Tennessee stands right now. I think, talking to him after his official visit there, everything from the academics to the effort the new staff is putting into changing the program, his words just shows what everyone there wants to be great. And then he also sees an opportunity to play early at Tennessee, help a program that's really on the rise, one that won 11 games last year. They have the number 12 recruiting class in the country right now. They're trying for a second straight top 10 class. I think William Satterwhite, when he announces his commitment, gets the balls back into that territory.
And Steve, a lot of commitments, which means a lot of crystal ball predictions. You and Evan Flood of Badger 24/7 recently put one in for Darian Dupree to end up with the Wisconsin Badgers. How confident are you in that pick?
Feel great about that prediction. If Wisconsin could draft recruits for their class, Darian Dupree would be one of their first picks as soon as they made the transition from Cincinnati to Wisconsin. He was one of the first prospects that they targeted. They got him to Madison a couple times, and I think it's really going to pay off for them. This is a guy that they already have Gideon Atuka committed. He's that physical, ram it up the middle type cat. And then Darian Dupree, he's your every down back that can catch the football, run between the tackles, be dynamic on the perimeter. He's also physical with the ball in his hands. And you look at Wisconsin, their recruiting class right now is highlighted by one of the best offensive line hauls in the Big Ten. Now they want to go out and get some running backs. And this is traditional Wisconsin recruiting that we're used to, except now they're going to be playing in Phil Longo's offense. And running backs are excited about that too. What he was able to do at North Carolina with getting running backs drafted early in the draft. That the offense, that scheme to be able to have space to run, I think is exciting for Darian Dupree. And I think it'll be Wisconsin over Michigan State, Missouri, Illinois, and some of the others he strongly considered.
And based on bringing in Phil Longo, it looks like Wisconsin will be throwing the ball a little bit more, but their recruiting might say otherwise. A nice, well-rounded offense. Let's turn back time. Back in 2022, you'll remember Georgia broke a record for the most defenders selected in the first round of the NFL draft with 5. So we know that they are great at finding talent. But when it comes to the linebacker position in particular, during this cycle, they already missed out on Sammy Brown, but are still in it for 3 top 247 backers. So what's the latest with Georgia's pursuit of this position, Steve?
Well, love where they stand with Christopher Jones out of Fairfax, Virginia. He's been to campus a couple times. His official visit blew him away. I think that they are clearly the team to beat as they battle Michigan State, among others for him. Justin Williams is an interesting one, 5-star recruit out of the Lone Star State, just physically gifted, can really run, just a dynamic second-level defender. Oregon has been a program that I had pegged as the one to beat going back to the fall. But Georgia is a program that's really made a run at Oregon, made it interesting, and I could certainly see him playing his college football in Athens. His teammate, Joseph Jonah Ajanye, is announcing his college commitment in about 2 hours, and I think that Georgia fans are going to want to hover around Dogs 247 for that prize defensive lineman. And I think they're in the thick of it for Justin Williams moving forward. And then you have Chris Cole, also out of the state of Virginia, who Georgia's been on for a long time. I think they've been one of the schools to watch alongside Miami. But now you have Alabama making a move. He made a visit there early summer, late spring. He enjoyed his time out at USC. could take an official to Notre Dame. And then another program that's made a big move because of a unofficial in the spring and then his official visit is local Virginia Tech. So don't sleep on the Hokies. Brian Doan has a great story on Chris Cole's recruitment right now on his 24/7 Sports profile, where you can see him talking about his top schools. But Georgia, they got a chance to land all three of these linebackers, and they may need them because they're trying to hang on to DeMarcus Riddick, with Alabama and Auburn picking up steam with him, longtime Georgia commit. That's more likely to end up with the Tide or the Tigers. I'd probably give the edge to the Tide right now. He's making his final decision at the end of July as well.
Let's stay in the SEC, Steve, and talk a little bit about the Texas A&M Aggies. They're on a nice little hot streak on the recruiting trail. They just landed 5-star wide receiver Cameron Coleman earlier this week. They went into the state of Alabama to get him. How did Jimbo Fisher manage to pull this one off, and who else could be in the boat to possibly join Cam Coleman there in College Station?
Yeah, well, I don't think that Coleman had a better relationship with any position coach than Damian Craig over there at Texas A&M. So I think it started with the relationship component. Then the hiring of Bobby Petrino as the offensive coordinator, also very exciting. I think he sees Texas A&M as a program on the rise. Talking to him, he said they played a lot of freshmen last year. He's seen what Jimbo Fisher has done over the course of his career, including a top 5 football team at Texas A&M. He thinks this is a program that's going to compete for national championships with the way that they've recruited recently. And he's got family in the area, so he's not going to be alone in College Station. So Texas A&M, they move into the top 10 of our rankings. They're up to number 9. They have one of the best receiver classes in the country. They're in on some 5 stars moving forward. You're talking about Colin Simmons, the number 1 edge rusher in the state out of Duncanville. He's expected at the pool party at the end of the month. Texas A&M hasn't been talked about much in this recruitment. It's been more around Texas and LSU, with places like Miami also in the mix. But Texas A&M looking to make a run at Colin Simmons. 5-star defensive lineman David Stone. He's been to A&M several times. He's someone that I wouldn't be surprised if he popped up at the pool party as well, as they battle Oklahoma, Miami, Florida, among others for him. Terry Bussey's our number 1 ranked athlete in the 24/7 Sports recruiting rankings. He recently put out his top schools. Texas A&M's always been at or near the top of the list for Terry Bussey. 5-star receiver Ryan Wingo is going to be at that pool party. They're in the lead group for 5-star defensive lineman Dominic McKinley. On the short list for guys like Bennett Warren, Nigel Smith from in-state, and then coveted linebacker Tylen Singleton, who's been there several times, including an official in June. So a lot of runway out there still for A&M to continue rising up our rankings after this quick rise to our top 10, with most of their work coming this summer.
Man, pool party. I was listening to that whole spiel, a lot of great information, but I got excited when you said pool party. I'm sure that's going to be a fun. What?
Can you picture Jimbo Fisher at that pool party with like one of those duck rings around his waist in the water with some sunscreen?
Maybe some floaties. Maybe some floaties too. Yeah, the really thick sunscreen on his nose. Yeah, sounds like quite the bash. Excited to see. Maybe some photos will come out of that. Steve, we got a lot of viewer questions in here for you. Some people are taking advantage of your time here and want to get some more intel. So, and yeah, before we answer them, a reminder, hit that like button. I think about 20% of the people watching right now have hit it. That is just not good enough. We got this here. No, we can do better. We got it. All right, Jason asking, Steve, what is the latest on running back Braylon Russell?
So he's going to announce his college decision with us, hopefully here on July 14th. We got that working on the back end, our producer, Aaron Grisham. But Arkansas, Baylor, South Carolina, Tennessee all got official visits. I think that last trip to Tennessee was an exciting one. South Carolina certainly was one that impressed, and you never rule out Arkansas with the way they're recruiting right now. They have a sneaky good receiver class. I love their quarterback committed. If they could add Braylon Russell to that offensive pool, they got a chance to have some serious firepower on that side of the ball moving forward. But I could see it going a few different ways right now. Danny West has Arkansas in the crystal ball, but I know Tennessee made a big impression on him when he was there a couple weekends ago.
All right, I got a question here. I'm going to need some help from Blair. This is from Tyler. Any news on Preston Tauma? How'd I do?
Yeah, Taumua.
Taumua.
He's a big offensive lineman from the state of Hawaii, the #1 rated prospect in the Aloha State. I have it to Oregon. I've been hearing a lot of Nebraska buzz, though. It sounds like that battle is going toe-to-toe between those two programs. He wants to make a decision on July 16th. It does sound like he has narrowed it down to those two schools. And it's an interesting battle, right? It's either Dan Lanning and that offensive line coaching staff led by Coach Terry, or you go out to Nebraska, which you took a midweek visit to Lincoln during the month of June. It's a really tight battle right now between those two programs for Preston Taumua.
Nebraska, number 15 class in the land. Oregon, number 8 right now.
Whew, some firepower there. Question here from Blake. Steve, where does Oregon stand with Justin Williams? He asks, is Georgia the favorite or is Oregon right there in it?
Yeah, my crystal ball is on Oregon. I certainly still really like their position. That's a prediction I've had since last fall, I believe. But he's made a couple visits to Athens. Georgia has at the very least pulled right behind him, if not even. There's some people that spent time with him on his official visit to Athens that think he's ultimately going to end up with the two-time defending national champs. So Oregon's got their hands full with Justin Williams here. His teammate Joseph Jonah-Ajonye is announcing his commitment at 6 p.m. Central. I like where Georgia stands there. So Georgia's certainly trending up, but Oregon still way in that one. I wouldn't throw in the towel just yet.
All right. JBHH asks, I have a question about Ryan Wingo. Where do things stand with him?
Man, my man missed last Monday's episode.
I know.
But we'll get him up to speed here. We like Texas right now. Took his official visit there in June. The third weekend of June, and I think they made a big move. Got to spend time with Xavier Worthy, Arch Manning. Loves Coach Sarkisian's track record with offense, receivers, and receivers development. I think that they have set the tone going into the summer. We say he's going to be at A&M this summer. He's going to be at Tennessee this summer. Tennessee's led at one point in this recruitment, so maybe they get it back. Missouri is rising. I think they're in the 2-hole right now. And then you got Miami. Miami's very much in the thick of it for Ryan Wingo. So there's still a lot to be settled in the sweepstakes for the 5-star pass catcher.
A lot of Tennessee fans are in the chat right now waiting to see if they land Elijah Rushing. Not happy about your report on Ryan Wingo, so maybe we can turn it around here. Asking, where is this question here? From Steve saying, Steve to Steve, Mike Matthews, is he a Vol?
I think there's a great chance that he's a Vol. He's been to Tennessee several times. His parents love it in Knoxville. They love the staff. They love the offense. They love the culture that Coach Heupel and company have put together in that program. It's one on the rise. I think it's one that's been well positioned throughout his recruitment. USC's given him a lot to think about. They always have a good time at Clemson. Georgia's tried to make a late move here. But I don't have a prediction in. I certainly could see him wearing the checkered orange and playing inside Neyland Stadium.
All right. Vol fans, much happier about that. I'm seeing a lot more orange emojis here in the chat. Hayden wants to know how we feeling about Aiden Breland. Hitting highlights today.
Yeah, I think that, last time we talked, I mentioned that I thought Georgia and Oregon were best positioned there. I know A&M is certainly battling. They got an official visit the first weekend of June. Miami, I feel like they had momentum. Then I was hearing less of them, but now I'm hearing Miami's way in that one again too. So I'm not ready to call it. Greg Biggins is the man on Aiden Breland, the number 2 defensive lineman, number 1 player in California from Mater Dei High. He's the guy to follow on Aiden Breland. But I think that those schools I mentioned there are all in the thick of it, and Miami's one that seems to be right there in the middle of it again when I didn't mention them the last time.
Got a question from, I assume, a Buckeye asking, will Ohio State end with the number 1 recruiting class? They've made quite the push recently.
Well, they're in it. They have a chance. They need some things to happen. They need Georgia to lose DeMarcus Riddick, which I think will happen. Then they need to beat Georgia for KJ Bolden. They need to go on the 5-star run here with some of the other guys out there. They're in it for Kingston, the linebacker from California. Edric Houston's a guy that we have crystal balled to Ohio State right now out of Buford, KJ Bolden's teammate. Can they land Dylan Stewart as they battle South Carolina for him? 5-star edge rusher from Washington, D.C. The crystal ball is on Ohio State for him, but there are a lot of people that think he'll end up at South Carolina. He's going to visit the Gamecocks again at the end of July. Brandon Baker's a 5-star offensive tackle. They're on the short list for Kobe Black's a 5-star corner. Can they overcome Texas for him? Gerby Lambert, Aaron Scott. They're in on some big time names, but they also need Georgia to kind of trip up a little bit and lose some guys to get to that number 1 spot. But I do think it's safe to say that Ohio State's going to sign a special class. Just how good will it be? Time will still tell.
Number 2 is still a fine position. Yeah, there's a lot of things that have to happen in order for that to happen. Steve, thank you for answering some of these questions as we await to get connected here with Elijah Rushing. Got a couple more for you here. I know everybody's very excited to find out where he lands, hoping to get him connected soon. But we got another question here. Where is Eddie Pierre Louis headed? Or Louis? You know where he's headed?
So, no, he's one of the most he's a very coveted interior guy from Tampa. I see that we have some 24/7 Sports crystal ball action for UCF for him right now from Stephen Leonard, our insider there. I know this is a guy that Oregon coveted at one point, Alabama and Oklahoma there as well. But UCF, they're kind of on a run right now, right? They got 10 commits now, or it's 10 commits, maybe another big one here in about 35 minutes. But Kylan Fox, Walt Claire Flynn, Stacey Gage, Quay Birdsong highlighting that class right now. And then the Jacob Good kid out of Georgia is the guy that's announcing his college commitment here very soon. And we like where UCF stands with him out of Langston Hughes. So I could see UCF landing both of these young men.
CW wants to know, where will KJ Bolden go? We are rolling through all the top prospects today.
Absolutely. This is fun. KJ Bolden, crystal balls on Georgia. I think that ultimately that's where he'll land, but not sleeping on Ohio State. That official visit to Columbus, the 3rd weekend of June, skyrocketed them. And they were already probably number 2 coming into that visit. He'd been to Columbus a couple times during the fall, has really clicked with their staff. Great relationship with Perry Eliano, who he's related to, the safeties coach there. And the family likes what Ohio State stands for on and off the field. But Georgia is the program that I have predicted, and no one's told me to bail on that just yet. I do know that there were people that spent time with him at Ohio State the 3rd weekend of June that thought that he would ultimately end up at Ohio State. So as we talked about the race for number 1, KJ Bolden's a pivotal recruit in that. And if Ohio State can pull that off, it certainly helps their chances of ultimately overcoming Georgia.
Steve, we also have a question from Anthony. He wants to know about running back Nate Frazier. He took official visits to Alabama and Oregon, just got back from that Bama trip at the end of June. What's the latest on the talented running back from Mater Dei?
Yeah, our colleague Greg Biggins and I were talking Nate Frazier before the show. I think George is the one to beat for him. I think that they blew him away during an unofficial visit this spring, summer. He's going to be back for an official visit during the season. I just like the way it's setting up for the Bulldogs there. But that official visit to Alabama, Biggins mentioned, was one that he loved. And I know he had a great time at Oregon too, and could see himself playing for the Ducks. But if you're asking me who I like today for Nate Frazier, I'd tell you it's Georgia.
Once again, we are awaiting the news on where Elijah Rushing will be playing his college ball. In the meantime, we are answering your viewer questions. So if you have any, drop them in the chat. Again, the only way you can access the chat, which is a lot of fun today. Well, yes, like the video, but also the only way you can be part of it is if you subscribe to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. You make sure you want to do that. This is a rare occasion. We just get to ask whatever questions we want to Steve Wiltfong. We get some answers, and I'm learning a lot. We got another question here from Eli Cruz. What are the chances that Texas A&M can flip Xavier Atkins?
I don't have that information.
See, I told you we could ask anything, but it's not quite flip season yet. We've got spatula season, which is going to come a little bit later in the cycle. But as of right now, it seems to be mainly commitment season, and then we'll get to the flips a little bit later. What do you know about L.J. McCray and who leads in his commitment?
Yeah, so LJ McCray, he wants to see teams play football this fall. He took a lot of visits. I think that the teams with the most smoke around them right now are Florida and Georgia. I think that with Georgia, Trey Scott, the track record on defense, Coach Kirby Smart, and everybody there has made a big impression. But he spent a lot of time in Gainesville, has really clicked with that staff. Coach Anderson, the new DC, Coach Chaos, the defensive line coach, and his track record. I think that Florida's done a fantastic job there. Obviously, Miami is trying. Auburn is in the mix. But he's going to watch these teams play this fall and continue through his process of gathering information. His dad was a terrific high school coach in the state of Florida, then coached at his alma mater, Bethune-Cookman, for a long time. So they know they have a plan for this process. And so they're going to see it through, watch these teams play this fall, continue to communicate with these coaching staffs. He's got an official visit set up for Florida State as well. So the Seminoles are in the mix for him. But Florida and Georgia are the two programs that I've heard the most about as it stands right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve, for all the great intel, and what a treat answering all of these viewer questions. You can read more of his work on 247sports.com, and as always, for more exclusive information, become a VIP member. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the 247 Sports YouTube channel. We are #CommitHQ. We got commitments coming fast and furious. We got one coming up in just a bit, but first.
And now it's time for Fits for Big Commits.
That's right. We have told you who they are and where they're going, but is it a good match? It's Fits for Big Commits. And this week we are focusing on the SEC. As we know, Georgia is currently the top dog in the conference in the recruiting rankings. Then you got Florida at 2, A&M, LSU, and Tennessee rounding out the top 5, and the bottom half of the SEC is as followed. So to help us break it all down is national recruiting analyst Cooper Patagna. Let's welcome him into the show right now. Coop, 5-star edge Jamonte Waller. He had a roller coaster of a recruitment, ultimately picking the Gators. Massive win for Billy Napier at a position of need. So how do you like the fit for this big commit?
I love the fit. And I love that intro, too. This is the first time seeing that. But it's a great fit for Florida. I'll tell you why. They were 97th or 98th in total defense last year. I think they were that same number. And sacks as well generated. So Jamonte Waller, he's going to give them a big punch. And this is a guy, he's a little bit undersized off the edge, but I think he's more traditional 3-4 outside linebacker that you can stand up. Had 11.5 sacks last year. And where we really fell in love with him was in February at the Under Armour Combine in Atlanta at Carrollton High School. This is a guy who moves extremely well, very polished at the point of attack, and he overcompensates for his lack of size. But he does have 34.5-inch arms. He's actually pretty long for his frame, and I love the way he plays the game. Every step has a purpose. So I love Jamonte Waller. I think he's going to be a shot in the arm for Billy Napier in that defense, who obviously needs a little bit of juice when getting to the quarterback.
Cooper, a lot of fireworks on 4th of July, not only in the sky, but on the recruiting trail, a ton of commitments. One of those was 4-star wide receiver Ashton Bethel Roman, and he is committed to the Arkansas Razorbacks. He's known for his speed. Our Gabe Brooks has compared him to Jalen Hyatt. How do you feel about this fit, and how do you like the commitment and what he can do at Fayetteville?
I love this pickup for Sam Pittman in Arkansas. Steve Wiltfong kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Arkansas is kind of putting together one of the more sneaky, impressive position hauls in 2024 with their receiver room. Courtney Crutchfield is a guy that we like a lot, and then you add Ashton Bethel Roman is a guy who's very, very smooth and can stretch the field vertically. So I like what they've done. You add in a guy like C.J. Brown as well, Norrell White from Mississippi, and all of a sudden they got a little bit of everything. You want to build a receiver room a lot like a basketball team, so they got a lot of flavor there. I love this pickup. His dad actually played early 2000s for LSU, played 10 years in the NFL. I was a little kind of surprised LSU didn't make him more of a priority, but I love this kid for Arkansas.
All right, yesterday, Georgia landed a massive commitment, both literally and figuratively. Got 4-star offensive tackle Daniel Calhoun. He's 6'6.5", 355. How do you like the fit for this really big commit?
He might be a little bit bigger than that. We saw him at the same camp in February as well, and this is a guy that I think could play tackle in a power scheme, and at Georgia, I think he's a really good fit. He could kick inside to guard, but he's got a 7-foot-plus wingspan. He's not going to wow you in what he's doing right now in this agility and the testing. And listen, that's not his deal. When you turn on the tape, this guy is powerful. He's a mauler at the point of attack, really strong in the run game. That's what Georgia wants to do. They want to dominate the line of scrimmage, and this is the type of guy that can do that. So I love this pickup. If I could give it a fit grade, it's an A+ for me.
Ooh.
Josh Heupel added a dynamic weapon to his offense when Braylon Staley gave his verbal commitment to the Volunteers last week. Coop, how do you like the fit for this big commit?
We don't talk about this guy a lot. I like Braylon Staley a lot. I think he's just starting to scratch the surface of what he's going to be. He can play inside at the slot position. He can also play on the outside as well. He's got a dynamic track and field background. He's a certified leaper as well, as you can see right there, strong at the point of attack. I think he's only scratching the surface of what he's going to be. And then you think about who he's going to be playing with, guys like Nico Iamaleava, also guys like Nathan Leacock, who they went to the Carolinas for last year, Ethan Davis, Cam Seldon. They've done a really good job at the skill positions, and I don't see Tennessee's offense with Josh Heupel, some of the talent that they brought in, I don't see them slowing down at all. I think they were one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient offense in the country last year. So I love what they're doing. This is a guy that we haven't really talked about a lot, so I'm glad I got the opportunity to kind of bring him up today.
We're glad that you came on the show to talk to us about these commits. Coop, thank you so much. Make sure you are listening to him alongside our Director of Scouting, Andrew Ivins, on the 24/7 Sports Football Recruiting Podcast. They have a fun dynamic, two newlyweds talking about, life, being married. So definitely go listen to these shows. They're dropping every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts. Tennessee, Oregon, Notre Dame, Arizona. It all comes down to this. These four schools and their respective fan bases are about to find out if the number one edge in the 2024 class will suit up for their squad. One of these programs will get a true difference maker, a disruptor, and an ace defender. Let's go ahead and welcome in our guest of honor. Elijah Rushing joins us now on the College Football Recruiting Show. Elijah, we are so glad to have you. But before we get to your big announcement, let's start with some questions. I mean, what were some important factors for you going into this decision?
I'd say family would probably be a big thing in this decision. You can go to a bunch of amazing places, but it all comes down to, what's important, your family, your academics, and what you see for yourself in the future. And so that was a huge role that played into this decision.
Elijah, no prospect's able to get to this moment that you're in without some help along the way with people around you. Who do you have to thank, and who are some folks there that are celebrating this moment with you?
Both my parents, God, of course, and all my coaches who have been here through my 4 years of this football. My strength coach in the back, she's helped me build the size that I need to, give me the strength that I need to. And there are some few trainers who aren't here who developed me, helped me get here. And I know I'm going to make sure they're known when I make my announcement.
All right, let's do it. The floor is yours. Elijah, where are you headed?
First and foremost, I want to thank God for blessing me with the incredible opportunity to pursue my passion for football. Without His guidance and grace, none of this will be possible. I am forever grateful for His unshakable love and support throughout my journey. To my family, you have been my rock, my source of inspiration, and my biggest supporters. From the countless hours spent driving me to practice to the late nights discussing game strategies. Your love and belief in me have been unwavering. I am eternally grateful for the sacrifices you have made to help me reach this point in my career. Thank you for always being there for me, cheering me on from the sidelines, and instilling in me the values of hard work, perseverance, and integrity. To my coaches, strength coach, trainers, and close circle of advisors, thank you for your guidance and wisdom. Your counsel has been invaluable throughout this recruiting process, and your belief in my abilities has fueled my determination to reach new heights. Your honest feedback and unyielding support have shaped me into the athlete and person I am today. I would also like to express my utmost respect and gratitude to all the coaches and schools who have recruited me. Each one of you saw potential in me, and I'm honored to have been considered by such esteemed programs. Your time and effort and belief in my abilities were not taken for granted during this decision. Please know that I have the utmost respect for your programs and the positive impact you have on student athletes. However, after much thought and reflection and consultation with my loved ones, I have decided to commit to the Arizona Wildcats.
Wow, there you have it. Elijah Rushing will be playing for the Arizona Wildcats. First off, huge congratulations. You're headed to the hometown school. Your older brother Cruz just transferred there too. I gotta ask, I mean, how much did staying home and playing with your brother factor into this decision?
I say it was a big factor, as well as the best situation for me. And I feel like this city and its state doesn't get the recognition it needs to and it deserves. And especially South Arizona, there are a lot of people who downplay it, down talking. And I guess for me, it was important to show this is the opportunity to put us on the map and let us represent who we are. And so everyone with Arizona has to offer.
Elijah, you're the highest rated recruit to ever commit to the Arizona Wildcats, a 5-star player, the #1 edge rusher in this class, and now you're a hometown guy, right? So you can become a hometown hero of sorts. How much do you understand the significance of the hat that you just put on and maybe the added pressure that comes with?
I mean, I've been talking with my family about this for weeks now, and you know, we discussed it. We know what it takes, and it's no different from whatever path I've taken before. I've been the last person in the back to now the first person up, and being the #1 recruit, that comes with pressure in itself. So going to a place like this is nothing that I can't handle.
I love it. I got one more question for you because Arizona fans are putting the Wild in Wildcat right now. They're going nuts over this. So speak to them. What kind of player and person do they get to see suit up for their favorite squad?
Yeah, well, I say being a hometown kid, born and raised in the heart of Tucson, this decision holds a special significance for me. And the opportunity to represent my state, my community, and my family on the football field is a dream come true. It is a chance to give back to the place that has shaped me, both as an athlete and as an individual. Family is everything to me, and the opportunity to play alongside my older brother at the collegiate level is a blessing beyond words. Our bond as brothers extends far beyond the football field, and the thought of sharing this experience with him is truly a blessing. We have supported and pushed each other from day one. Now we have the chance to continue that journey together. We will not only represent our family name, but also inspire others to chase their dreams relentlessly. I'd like to say to the coaching staff and my future teammates at Arizona, I am humbled and honored to join your brotherhood. I understand the responsibility that comes with wearing the Wildcat jersey, and I promise to approach every practice, game, and every moment with steadfast dedication and passion. I am committed to giving my all, pushing my limits, and contributing to the success of our team. Together, we will leave our mark on the football field and continue the proud tradition of the Arizona Wildcats. And once again, I want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone who has supported me on this journey. And to the fans, I would like to take this time to thank you in advance for receiving me into the Wildcat Nation. I'm excited to embark on this new chapter and make you all proud. Bear down, Arizona.
I love it. Elijah, congratulations. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your big day. One last congratulations to you and, of course, to your family. I mean, what a blessing to get to watch you and your brother right down the road. Once again, congrats.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. All right, there you have it. Breaking news. Elijah Rushing becomes the first 5-star commit ever for the Arizona Wildcats. Top talent has come through Tucson in the past. Most notably, you see the name at the bottom of the screen there, Gronk. But none have come in with the expectations and reputation that the hometown kid is now bringing. And who better to talk to about this than Blair? I mean, you have been all over this recruitment from the very beginning. First off, how surprised are you that Arizona is the big winner here?
Well, I'm not surprised today that it happened, but in a way, if you told me maybe 3 or 4 months ago, my jaw would be on the floor, right? This is a program that we didn't rule out. We called them the dark horse. We thought about him potentially staying home and being a hometown hero, playing with his brother Cruz, who, remember, originally committed to Oregon out of the 2022 class. Mm-hmm. He then walked on at Florida, where they are both legacies. Their father, George, played tight end for the Gators, and then he transferred over to Arizona. He's a safety, kind of a bigger safety, might be moving into the box to play some linebacker. That's going to give them a nice little rushing tandem there on the edge with Cruz and Elijah. So I am surprised because I thought that Notre Dame had a really good spot there in the recruiting process early on. I thought Oregon led for a while as well, especially dating back to when Cruz was committed there. Tennessee made a late charge. They had the final official visit during the month of June, and you can never really count out Josh Heupel right now, especially with what he did last cycle, coming out to the West Coast and winning a five-star battle. But yeah, Arizona, you have to kind of tip your hat to them, Jetfish, everything that they hope to accomplish on the recruiting trail. They're doing that right now with Elijah Rushing.
Yeah, for the last few months, every time we talked about Elijah Rushing, it was, okay, he's interested in this school and this school and this school, but don't count out Arizona. I mean, they're still very much alive in this, and here we are today. He chooses Arizona. I mean, the expectations will certainly be that he comes in and makes an immediate impact with those 5 stars next to his name. But based on your evaluation of the player, how ready is he to do that?
It's not only the player, Emily. I think it's the person as well. This is a player who right now is going through multi-sport training. He's doing track to improve his get-off and his footwork. He's doing boxing to improve his hand coordination and his forcefulness in terms of the first punch right off the snap. So this is a player who's going to be motivated to go in there and make an impact. He's a big body. He's about 6'5", 6'6", 230. He's going to be able to push a little bit more once he's able to add a college weight program and the nutrition to his diet. I think this is a player who has all the tools, the explosiveness, the twitchiness, and I think the makeup, right, the intangibles to go in there with the weight of the Tucson community, the Arizona Wildcat alumni base, and all that comes with it. I think he's got everything that you hope to have as a recruit to be able to handle that. So yeah, I would expect him to see the field from day one next season, 2024, and I'm sure Arizona Wildcats fans are already lining up to potentially get their season tickets because this is a huge win for Arizona.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jedd Fisch reeling in the program's highest rated recruit of all time. It's obvious that this is a massive victory for his group, but what does it say about Fisch and his willingness to keep pursuing a player that, again, historically does not pick the Wildcats?
You can't. I think this gives everyone else a notice, right? You can't keep Jedd Fisch the battle, right? He's a player, or he's a coach that's going to go and recruit really hard. I think when you think back to his introductory press conference in December of 2020, and it was a remote press conference. I think you go back and look at it, I think it was even done over Zoom. But one of the big things he said was he wanted to lock up the state and he wanted to build a fence around the state of Arizona. And what better way to do that than 3 years later, get the #1 player in the state? It shows that he means business. It shows that he has the chops to be able to recruit and beat an SEC school like Tennessee, beat a Dan Lanning who comes from Georgia with all the accolades as a recruiter, and then beat a Notre Dame, which obviously offers a lot of things, and the combination of, I think, what Elijah Rushing was looking for in a school. Don't count out Jedd Fisch and don't sleep on him, because he did it a few years ago with T-Mac, Tataroa McMillan, the wide receiver from Southern California, and now he's done it again with Elijah Rushing.
Yeah, McMillan was previously the highest rated recruit of all time, another Jedd Fisch prospect, and he does it again a couple seasons later. I mean, if you're Arizona, you hope that you haven't just gained a recruit, but also a recruiter. So what does adding Rushing do for their efforts and bringing in more talent?
Well, this is going to be, I think, the big thing to watch for now as we wrap up the summer and heading into the season. There is some noise that they could be in the works there to maybe land another top-rated prospect in the state of Arizona. There's been some talk about some players in the Phoenix area that have been looking at this as maybe just an indication of what Arizona can do on the recruiting trail, right? You land a five-star edge, a player who's so regarded and a player that's so known. I think other recruits notice that, and they want to go and play with him, play in that same defense, know that they are turning the program around. I mean, I think we're forgetting that this was a team that won just one game a few years ago, and the turnaround that we've seen on the field, and now it's translated into what they're doing on recruiting. And if Elijah Rushing can become a walking billboard of sorts for that program, I think from a recruiting standpoint, it's going to be a home run as well.
I love that you said billboard, because that's my next question. You have a player who plays his high school ball 2 miles from the University of Arizona. He is a Tucson kid through and through. So how does a decision like this to stay home affect his potential NIL opportunities?
It's huge. I would expect there's restaurants that are already trying to name burritos after Elijah Rushing, right? This is going to be a huge home run for him from a marketing standpoint, from a branding standpoint, NIL opportunities. I could see his face all over billboards and banners across the desert there in southern Arizona. And I think that's just the beginning of it, right? We're just talking about him as a recruit, as a 5-star player who gives them a big win in the offseason. But when you think about what he can do on the field on Saturday nights in the fall during the season when they are winning games, and maybe he's, having a strip sack, or he's forcing fumbles, or, he's making plays to win football games, that's where we really see the benefit, right? That's where we really see him continue to, in a way, and maybe in many ways from an NIL perspective, ascend and create a brand. There are no pro teams in Tucson. This is what they have, right? This is the Arizona Wildcats. It's football and basketball. There's some softball, baseball. It gets a lot of love there in Tucson as well. But I think he's going to be the big name in town here for the next couple of years. And what better way than to do that in your home area where the fans can kind of embrace you and you can be an NIL darling.
Come on, with a name like Rushing, you can have some spectacular ideas too. I'm sure they're going to have fun with that. And also, I said it too, I mean, what a win for his parents and for his family, for everybody to kind of be in there together. Elijah Rushing is going to be a figure, and is going to be a legend in that city for quite some time. Hey, be sure to check out Wildcat Authority for all things Arizona. Once they too pick their jaws up off the floor over there, I am certain that you will find some coverage of today's events. I mean, what a day to remember for Wildcat fans. Well, just because there's no college football recruiting show over the weekend does not mean that the recruiting world stops. So it is time to mark your calendar so you don't miss a thing. Top 247 wide receiver Nick Marsh is set to make his commitment tomorrow. He took officials to Pitt, Penn State, Kansas, and Michigan State during the month of June. Blair, where are you leaning here?
It looks like Sparty, Emily, has a lot of the momentum. Originally committed to Michigan State back in July of 2022, so nearly a year ago. He decommitted from the Spartans this past March. He hit the skies, he took some trips, but it does look like Michigan State once again has that buzz for Nick Marsh.
Then on Saturday, it's top 247 defensive lineman Benedict Ume's turn to announce. The Crystal Balls favor Stanford, but other contenders include Duke, Penn State, and Wisconsin. Blair, how do you think this one ends up?
I think he ends up with the Cardinal. They have all of the crystal ball predictions. It's been trending for Stanford for several weeks now. So give me Troy Taylor and company as they look to add their 6th 4-star prospect of the class as one of the hottest teams on the recruiting trail with the summer here kicking off now.
He added nearly 20 commitments in the month of June, not slowing down in July. This time of year is not just for commitments, though. We got a pair of tournaments also happening over the weekend in Southern California. The South County Classic in Mission Viejo and the Brave 8 Invitational at St. John Bosco. That is home of 5-star quarterback and Alabama commit Julian Sayin. So what are some of the other headliners happening at these events?
Yeah, that's where Julian Sayin will be with his Carlsbad teammates at St. John Bosco trying to take home that tournament crown. They're going to have to unseat St. John Bosco, which is notoriously one of the best programs in California. They have Kingston Viliamu Asa, who I think right now is getting close to making a decision. I think he wants to commit at the end of the month. And then on the other side, at Mission Viejo, Elijah Brown, you see him there, the Stanford commit, but his teammate, Zabion Brown, the top 50 corner, borderline 5-star right now in the rankings, he plans to commit this weekend, Emily, between USC, Bama, and Ohio State. So he's going to want to get into that announcement, maybe winning a passing tournament as well on Saturday.
Looking forward to hearing all about that. Once again, we are #CommitHQ, so mark your calendars for Tuesday. That's when 4-star edge Enelu Lafaele will announce his decision. That's going to be live right here on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. It's going down at 6 Eastern. You got Arizona State, Wisconsin, Hawaii, and Washington, all the finalists here. Any intel as we head into the weekend, Blair?
The intel that I do have it's going to be at noon Hawaii time, and it's going to be a beautiful day in Honolulu as it usually is. I like the Wisconsin Badgers. I think they've prioritized them now for the longest time amongst those suitors. He had a terrific official visit to Madison. I think we talked about it back then, how beautiful that weekend was out on the lake. And he was a part of that trip. So I like the Badgers. They just had Nick Herbig get drafted, and he's a player that I've closely comped Enelu Lafaele to. So give me the Wisconsin Badgers heading into the announcement.
All right, we will certainly be talking about all of this on Monday's show. Be sure to tune in then. Thank you for tuning in today. One more ask to go ahead and hit that like button on your way out. For Blair Angulo, I'm Emily Proud, and this is the College Football Recruiting Show.